Namaskar, welcome back to Media Scan. Viewers, ever since Sheikh Hasina government was ousted from Dhaka, minorities in Bangladesh, particularly the Hindu minorities, have been constantly under attack. Recently, the situation escalated many-fold when a Hindu monk from the ISKCON sect was arrested, and since then, Hindus have come out on the streets to protest against all these atrocities. At the same time, there are constant reports about attacks on Hindu temples in the colonies where Hindus are known to live, in their shops and establishments. So, on Media Scan this weekend, what is the Yunus government doing for the security, for the protection of Hindu minorities in Bangladesh? Who will save the Hindus of Bangladesh? A quick look.
We want justice! We want justice! Sabune jago! Hindu jago!
From Dhaka to Chittagong to Comilla to Noakhali, Hindus in Bangladesh are facing an existential threat. Their colonies are being attacked, their houses burnt, their shops looted, and religious places vandalized. Women are facing physical as well as sexual assault. More than 2,100 incidents of violence against Hindus have been reported since August 5. The Bangladesh government, headed by Mohammad Yunus, has been criticized for its handling of the situation. While some have blamed the administration for being ineffective, others say it is complicit. Apart from attacking their homes and business establishments, Hindus are being forced on gunpoint to resign from senior government and academic positions. Social media rumors are vitiating the atmosphere further. The recent attacks following the arrest of a Hindu monk, Chinmay Krishnadas Brahmachari, have triggered a fresh set of attacks. This has elicited strong reaction from New Delhi. India has demanded that Bangladesh must ensure the protection of its minorities. Former Commissioner of USCIRF, Johnny Moore, said Biden government had not paid much attention to Bangladesh, but Trump was coming. He said Mohammad Yunus must seek advice from countries like India. Tulsi Gabbard has also issued a strong statement about attacks on Hindus. But the question on everybody's mind right now is Bangladesh reverting to being East Pakistan?
And with that quick capsule on the grim situation in Bangladesh, I want to come quickly to our guest for this weekend, who will help us understand what exactly is going on. I have here with me in the studio Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, war veteran, expert on strategic affairs. Namaskar, General Kulkarni, welcome. And joining me from Dhaka, well-known, much talked about journalist Salahuddin Shoaib Chaudhry, editor of The Blitz. Welcome, Mr. Chaudhry. We are happy to have you. If I may come to Mr. Chaudhry first, Salahuddin Chaudhry, will you, for the benefit of our viewers, tell us briefly how grim is the situation for the Hindus in Bangladesh, what is going on, and what is the response of the government of the day? Briefly.
In Bangladesh, you can say Hindus are put into burning inferno, where the state is patronizing the other side, the Islamists and jihadis, who are continuing this kind of the genocide on Hindus. So in brief, as one to say, Bangladeshi Hindus are into burning inferno.
Mr. Chaudhry, we have reports that if we start counting from the day that Sheikh Hasina was ousted, it is, maybe more than 2,000 temples and places of worship of Hindus have been attacked. At the same time, it is not just about attack on religious places. Hindus have been killed, they have been attacked, their women have been harassed. And now we see a different kind of a harassment. That is, they may not be attacked physically, but people from the Hindu community who are in, sort of reputed positions are compelled to resign at the on the tip of on the risk of violence, and their shops have been looted. So actually, it is not just physical violence; they are being exploited in various ways and in a way pushed to the margins of the society. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You see, from 5th of August until November 5th of the US presidential election, the persecution was continuing in one pattern. And immediately after Trump's victory, the persecution has switched to the different pattern because the regime in Dhaka, they have become nervous because Muhammad Yunus is known as Trump hater. And now the Hindus in general, they are making an attempt of branding Hindus as terrorists and branding India as an enemy nation. You must have seen that just you mentioned about this ISKCON monk Chinmay Krishna Prabhu case. But we were surprised, and I would like to draw your attention to that. They say that this monk and the ISKCON members have disrespected Bangladeshi flag by placing a Sanatan flag over the Bangladeshi flag. But in reality, I have published a video on my Twitter handle. This photo of the so-called Bangladeshi flag, it bears crescent and star in the four corners. So it's no Bangladeshi flag that they are claiming to be defamed and disrespected. It's a bogus case. And now, if you go to the educational institutions, pathways in Bangladesh, they're on purpose placing Indian flag to disrespect the Indian flag. And they are even publicly saying that all the ISKCON temples are warehouse of weapons and explosives, and they say ISKCON is a terrorist organization.
So, Mr. Chaudhary, in one line, sir, is it all that is happening that you have reported, some of it is so shameful even to hear about it. Is this against Hindus? Is this against India, or is it both?
I said Yunus considers India and Hindus as enemies along with his Islamist jihadist cronies.
Okay.
So this is a war declared by Yunus against Hindus and against India and also against secularist individuals like us.
Fine, fine. I'll come back to you on that question of secularism, Mr. Chaudhary. But I want to bring in General Kulkarni here. Sir, want to know from you, we know that Bangladesh had been going through this process of radicalization for some years now. We even saw reflections of it during the Sheikh Hasina regime. But what we are seeing today is really, extremely worrying. And now questions are being raised whether Bangladesh is sliding back to the East Pakistan situation and the secular character which made it different from our Western neighbor is perhaps now something that it may be losing or may have lost.
For a very simple reason, what you just said, Bangladesh was an Islamic republic turned secular and now secularism under threat. I think Sheikh Hasina tried her best to balance it out and take the country towards progress. And that progress was more important than religion. So the religion had taken a backseat. It was the progress of the country which benefited everybody. All in Bangladesh were a big beneficiaries of, and the whole world looked at Bangladesh not as a basket which was, people always thought it was a finished case, but something which was being seen as growing, women empowerment, lots of garment exports taking place from there, and therefore Bangladesh was on an upswing. Now what we notice in Bangladesh of late is the old influence of the ISI from Pakistan, which continues very heavily, the Chinese investments in Bangladesh, which in their military has been substantial, whether it be in the aircraft, be it in their tanks or be it in the submarines, the Cox's Bazar port being given to them, the access to the Chittagong port being given to them. So Bangladesh had a tremendous Chinese influence with lots of infrastructure coming in, and the Pakistan ISI interfering into Bangladesh for a long time. In this context, I thought that the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, which was off the, I would say, from the rule for a long time, with Khalida Zia in prison for all the charges that were against her. She is out now from the prison. The BNP, along with the Jamaat, continued to ensure that radicalization is something that was. Bangladesh.
Sir, if I may ask you, it's a very ironical situation that people who are associated with the ISKCON are now being branded as terrorists, and people who were in jail for charges of radicalization and open terror are now part of the government.
See, Krishna has been charged for sedition, and that too in Chittagong for supposedly his flag of ISKCON higher than the Bangladesh flag. And
which Mr. Chaudhary is saying was actually not the Bangladesh flag.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I thought Mr. Chaudhary was absolutely bang on in his assessment, the way he's talking about it, because he sees it being in Bangladesh what it is.
Yes.
And in this context, we see that the way the Jamaat and the way the Hizbul Tahrir and all of those organizations got after the minority. Mr. Yunus, who was a caretaker right now, for 100 days, it probably might turn into 1,000 days or maybe longer for his stay over there. He's not been as noble a prize winner that one can look at it. The actions are not as noble as what one would expect of him who was. And therefore, you find that radicalization, the student movement, all of it is helping radicalization take roots. And Bangladesh, which was more inclined towards the language, Bengali language, Bengali culture, seems to have more drifted into radicalization, Urdu and things of those kinds.
Mr. Chaudhary, I want to throw to you what General Kulkarni here has just flagged, that the entire struggle for a separate Bangladesh was based on the distinct identity of the people from your country about their language, their culture, etc. But it is now very clear that those, that distinct identity is now getting overshadowed by what we see as being pushed from the Pakistan side. Names of two organizations are being repeatedly flagged by our experts. Hizbut Tahrir is one of them, and of course the Jamaat-e-Islami and various offshoots. The Hifazat-e-Islam is being mentioned. My direct question is, do you think Mr. Yunus is unable to control these radical forces who are believed to be calling the shots, or do you think Mr. Yunus is okay with what is happening and therefore he is allowing it?
You see, the independence of Bangladesh, the core principle of the independence of Bangladesh, for which 3 million people sacrificed their lives.
Yes.
70% of them were Hindus. And 300,000 to 400,000 girls and women, they sacrificed their honor. And now the secularism is being disbanded. They are trying to switch to Islamist regime. And unfortunately, you see in Bangladesh, as you mentioned, Hizbut Tahrir, Hifazat-e-Islam, they are publicly chanting slogans, waving the flags of Al-Qaeda and Islamic State, and calling upon people to slaughter Hindus, ISKCON members, quote, agents of India. So this is all, everything is happening under the knowledge of Yunus. Because in my opinion, as I am on the ground, I can tell you, Yunus is the top boss of this Islamization of Bangladesh. He is the top boss of genocide on Hindus, and I can tell on record, Yunus holds blood of Hindus in his hand.
Okay, those are very serious charges. If I may come to General Kulkarni here, sir, just want to know from you, if there is any silver lining in this very grim situation, it is the fact that despite all the atrocities and violence that they are facing, Hindus are still daring to come out on the streets. On some days, it is in thousands, even 1 lakh in Dhaka we have seen. So they are definitely not ready to, face whatever is happening quietly. They are protesting for their rights. And one country towards which they are naturally looking at is India. Apart from India, they are also having some hope from the US, because the hand of the US in the coming of the Yunus regime has been written and talked about enough already. Interestingly, sir, the current US incumbent government has not spoken much about the situation in Bangladesh, but people from Donald Trump's team, I was seeing the statement of Johnny Moore, Tulsi Gabbard of course has already spoken more than once about it. How do you look at the role of the international community India included, what can be done to ensure that even though Bangladesh is a sovereign nation, it must be ensured that the minorities there are not persecuted and they can continue to live peacefully as earlier?
No doubt about that. The minorities presently in Bangladesh are feeling uneasy and threatened.
Yes.
They are not wanted, and probably the impression that one gets is how they can be pushed out of the country. From once upon a time, from about 24% of the population, they're just about 8 to 9% of the 16 crore population that they have. And even Mr. Yunus, because of his Grameen Bank and his background, the kind of importance that he was given in the United States by the Democrats, and the way Nobel Prize also is attributed to the kind of contribution made by the Democrats, he seemed to be a very reasonable man at that point of time. But now, as I see that Mr. Trump has very clearly stated that he would much stand with the minorities being taken care of in Bangladesh, and he would not tolerate their being persecuted or being discriminated in Bangladesh. So as Tulsi also very nicely
Yes.
put it. Now you find UK also, the parliamentarians are coming forward to say that what is happening in Bangladesh is something which is very serious and we need to take a note of. The European Union also has now started talking about it, though I would say a little late, because it's almost 100 days of Mr. Yunus. And from the very beginning of the 5th of August, from the time Sheikh Hasina has left, the Hindus have been targeted. The Durga Puja, much that again Mr. Yunus has been saying, no, the people over there are targeting the Awamis and the Awamis are being mistaken as Hindus. It is not like that. They know very well, the Hindus and the Awamis, they know who are Awamis and who are the Hindus.
So by now ground reports have made it very clear that it is especially targeted at Hindus only.
No doubt about that. The temples, their complete institutions, they're being forced to resign from the various jobs. The Hindus who are there today, or the minorities who are there, they're there out of their choosing. They have decided it is their country. Otherwise, they would have come to India long back. Bangladesh, when got liberated in 1971, they would have come
Yes.
back. And even now, when they're talking, is the liberation seems to have been forgotten, and this is a new Bangladesh. This seems to have been created, which is radicalized. And this radicalization is being spoken about and openly being supported by the state administration. I am sorry to say, even the Bangladesh army is very much a part of it to support all of this happening. Okay. Otherwise, the police and the army should have prevented it, because the government of India has taken a tremendous amount of risk and great amount of pains to get Bangladesh liberated from Pakistan. And we
Yes,
never
sir.
expected this.
I will also ask Mr. Chaudhary on this. Mr. Chaudhary, we are constantly seeing reports about how, as I said, it is not just physical attacks, in a very sort of a concerted way, in a very organized manner. We have heard that now there is no inspector or sub-inspector of Hindu community left in the police. We are also seeing people in the judiciary, in the administration, of course, in academics most notably, being forced to resign. They are being insulted. They are humiliated. So in a way, a very organized decimation of the Hindu population is being done. But interestingly, we are not seeing too many people, Hindus I mean, leaving the country. Instead, they are protesting on the streets and demanding support from the international community. I want to know from you, Mr. Chaudhary, how do you look at the response of the international community so far, which includes the US, and do you think it will make an impact now that the issue is being discussed everywhere, including the UNO?
First of all, I would like to say that two silver linings are there. Hindus have started speaking out. Hindus are on the street. They are demanding their rights. And this is first silver lining. Second thing is, despite state patronized operation, Hindus are not becoming silent. A second silver lining lies on January 20th, when Donald Trump takes oath, because he has strongly condemned these barbaric atrocities on Hindus during the occasion of Diwali. And I'm sure Trump will take care of Hindus and these atrocities on Hindus, number one. And number two, as you have mentioned, that Hindus are being forced to leave government jobs. Not only in police, in the schools, in colleges, everywhere. So Yunus and his Islamic jihadist conglomerate, they want to turn Bangladesh into a Hindu-free Taliban nation. but it will not become successful. I can assure you, I can guarantee you, and on document I can say that Trump is going to be extremely tough, and Trump is going
How
to
will
even...
that happen, Mr. Chaudhary? You are being very confident that this decimation of the minorities, a Hindu-free Bangladesh is not possible, it will not happen. What is the basis of your confidence?
Because Hindus have waken up. They are raising their voice, and their voice is being heard throughout the world, everywhere. And I'm sure Trump and his team members are also aware of it. And I can guarantee that after January 20th, immediately after January 20th, there is going to be a series of extremely cruel and tough action from Trump against the persecutors of Hindus in Bangladesh.
Okay, that's very interesting. We'll keep our eyes open for that. But General Kulkarni, sir, India has given some very stern statements in the past few days, particularly on Friday this week, that it is incumbent on the Yunus government to ensure the protection of minorities. How do you see it going from here in the context of India's role in this whole crisis?
See, India has always been supportive of Bangladesh because over 4,000 kilometers of land border we have. They have only about 193 kilometers with Myanmar and about 500 odd kilometers along the sea. So keeping that in view and the kind of states we have, having a common border with Bangladesh, we have tremendous amount of goodwill generated in Bangladesh. There is no denying the fact. Sheikh Hasina's statements which have been put in X, we don't know, but she has also supported very well. Prime Minister Modi, this has happened on the 5th of August in Bangladesh. On the 15th of August itself, he said it from Red Fort, ramparts of Red Fort, that Bangladesh needs to ensure that the people over there need to be looked after, especially the minorities. No, he also spoke to Mr. Yunus himself and told him that, look, the minorities need to be supported. You found that the Foreign Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, has also again and again said that, yes, the minorities, the world over. I think what Mr. Chaudhary is saying is absolutely right. The Hindus have to now take things in their hand, have to ensure and fight it out and not flee from there what the radicalized community there desires. They want them to be...
It's not easy. Their wealth is being targeted, their jobs and professions are being targeted, their shops are looted, their religion is at threat. It's a very, it's not a very hopeful situation so far.
But we have to, as India, we have to ensure that the minorities are protected, that the Bangladesh is our neighbor. We can't change neighbors and we have to stay as good neighbors, and the radicalized community over there needs now to be told, and they need to be disseminated from there, that they cannot take Bangladesh. They have to choose whether they want progress or do they want retrograde radicalization of their society. And again, it will become a basket case in the world, which I'm sure Bangladesh has now tasted some part of prosperity. They wouldn't want to go back to 19th century.
Mr. Chaudhary, I'll give the last word to you before we disconnect with you. Just very quickly, sir, what do you think is in stake for the Hindus there, and can they hope for the situation to improve in the coming days? Also, what do you think India can do to help your Hindu brothers and sisters there?
India's relations with Bangladesh is natural. It is not diplomatic, it is not strategic, natural bondage. And India will remain a friend of Bangladesh because we are natural with it, because of the natural bondage. Our Hindu brothers and sisters, they are facing atrocities, they are still raising voice. I would like to humbly request to every media outlet in India and the world to please join this struggle of Hindus in Bangladesh. Please extend your support towards Hindus of Bangladesh. Don't play any dirty card with Hindus at this moment, please. They need your support for their existence, not only for the existence of Hindus, but for the existence of a secular Bangladesh. Help Bangladesh remain secular, help Bangladesh win another battle against jihadis and Islamists. Please, please, please extend your support.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary, for such an emotional appeal, and we understand where it is coming from. We will connect to you again, sir, and keep an eye on all that is going on in your country, our eastern neighbor. But for now, thank you very much. for taking, we know it is not easy for you and you are taking a lot of risk on yourself to explain to us what is going on there. But thank you once again, Mr. Chaudhary. Namaskar. And General Kulkarni, thank you, sir, always so gracious to join our show whenever we have asked you and for explaining that perspective to us. Viewers, one thing is certain, the situation may get worse before it gets better, but the Hindus of Bangladesh are ready to fight it out, come what may. Perhaps the media also can play a role here by bringing out the true face of the situation so that the world community can be sensitized and more people will come forward to protect the secular fabric of our eastern neighbor Bangladesh, as pointed out by our guest just now. See you next weekend with another important issue of national significance. But for now, it's a wrap up on Media Scan. Namaskar.